the Soviets, in my opinion, are in difficulty. And they feel the pinch of their difficulties. Whereas they may not be able to take positive steps in other parts, but I think there is enough for us to believe that perhaps they might be able to compromise, if I can use that word, on Afghanistan. And the compromise is the withdrawal of the Russian troops. And therefore, when I say that there is a propaganda campaign which has been recently launched directed towards the refugees, there is a reality in this. Because although I'm an optimist and we had a very encouraging talks in Geneva, yet at the same time it will not be right for us to see only the greener aspects of life. The reality is the Russians are saying that they want to withdraw, and reality is that we are taking them on their word. And it is in this respect that we are trying to find a political solution. The only method by which we can find a solution. There is no military solution to the problem. You can't confront the Soviet Union and Afghanistan, and these 15 million people who are fighting for their freedom have made their presence felt in their own country and have shown to the world, not only to the Russians, but the whole world, how much love and respect they have for their freedom.
All right, Mr. President, let's take that. Let us say that you are right and that the Russians are in difficulty and they do want to withdraw. On what kind of terms you think they're willing to do that?
We feel from the Geneva talks that if the Soviet Union finds itself reasonably comfortable in Afghanistan, because why did they move out? Now we will be putting the chicken and the egg together and we'll end up in a lot of argument. But leaving that side at all, there is a very positive effect of the Russian reaction, or the positive reason for the Russian reaction. And the reason is, why did they initially move into Afghanistan? And we'll take all other arguments about, and one thing we'll take for the time being for the sake of argument, and that is that the Soviet Union wanted to make sure that the southern soft underbelly is protected. And if the Russians can see, can be assured that with the withdrawal of the Russian troops from Afghanistan, they can be reasonably comfortable and safe, I think they'll perhaps come to terms.
And from what your foreign minister has been saying, he's been very optimistic. This agreement could come very soon.
Yes. But, as I said, I'm a military man. We hope for the best, we plan for the worst. And therefore, I'm telling you the planning for the worst. This negotiation in Geneva might well end up in Pakistan and the Soviet Union pulling a miracle in the 20th century, if I can make emphasis on the condition that we are expecting. It will be no more than a miracle. And miracles do not take place in 20th century because all the prophets have finished. The last one came 1400 years ago. Yet, we find in these talks the Soviet Union, through the Afghanistan representative on these talks, discussing with us the program of withdrawal of Russian troops.
They're actually discussing withdrawing with you?
Yes, sir. And also discussing with us as to what guarantees and assurances could be given for stoppage of future interference and intervention. What could be the role of the, let's say, of the members of the Security Council in guaranteeing non-aligned status to Afghanistan? What would be the situation in Afghanistan after the Russians pull out? How will Russia, Pakistan, Iran, China, United States of America will manage the Afghanistan situation? We have gone to that extent. And you do not talk in abstract terms when you are not willing to enter into a negotiation which you want to end up in a success.
So, President Zia, what you're saying, if I may summarize it, is that from these talks, the Soviet Union are ready to consider withdrawing from Afghanistan.
Yes, sir.
They're also concerned, however, about the kind of government which will emerge in Afghanistan after the withdrawal.
Not the government, I would say. They are very much concerned about the state of affairs that may be prevalent inside Afghanistan after they leave.
Will they want to have some sort of influence in Afghanistan after they leave?
They do not so, but we grant them. We have said that we accept that the Soviet Union has, if not the right, at least the expectation of having a friendly Afghanistan.
I don't think the Americans would agree with that.
No, no, I don't think they have any objection. Because you can't have a hostile neighbor. If you have, then you'll end up in a situation like this. But if you have a friendly Afghanistan, you may well be in a position prior to April 1978.
So forgive me for repeating this, but we're talking now about the withdrawal of 105,000 or whatever the figure is, Russian troops from Afghanistan. That's what we're talking about.
That's right, yes. And they came in just about 3 weeks. And we are asking them, you can take 3 months to go back.
Is it inevitable that Afghanistan must forever be a Soviet satellite?
No. Over the past 4 centuries, if not more, Afghanistan has lived as an independent, non-aligned, neutral state.
But that's the past, Mr. President. What about the future? The Soviets have put in 100,000 people in there. They have been involved in some of the mineral wealth and so on of the country, so in economic terms they are involved as well. Are they suddenly going to march out and leave Afghanistan to become what you just said, a non-aligned country again?
I'll just give you a little experience that I had with a very senior Russian official. And when he was asking me exactly, not in this question, but otherwise, I told him, I said, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm getting the feeling that the Russians do not respect the history a lot. So he said, what do you mean? I said, sir, if you would have just given a thought to the British experience of 100 years and the 3 wars they fought with the Afghans, you would have never walked into Afghanistan. And I think it's good for you to pull out. He might listen to me.